wake up. You can tell the room is yours. The same ceiling, the same gray light at the edge of the curtain. But you can't move. Not your arm, not your hand, not even your jaw to call out. You're awake. You're certain of it. And the switch that stops you from acting out your dreams is still pressed down. And you are awake underneath it. Then you feel it. Something is in the room with you. Leaning over the bed. This is sleep paralysis. It happens to people every night, all over the world. And for thousands of years, in cultures that never met, they have described the exact same thing leaning over them in the dark. Tonight, I'll show you why so many people see the same thing, and why it was never in the room. The answer is stranger than any ghost, and once you hear it, the fear loosens its grip. Because in 2021, a lab in Paris recorded what your brain is really doing in that moment, and it is not what you think. Stay with me. The monster has an address. Start with your body. Every night when you drop into REM sleep, the stage where you dream hardest, your brain does something deliberate. It paralyzes you. This isn't the body powering down for the night. It's an active lockdown. Your motor neurons are switched off on purpose, so you don't physically act out whatever you're dreaming. A 2023 review by Vetravallen and Bandaru calls it a protective mechanism that stops dream enactment. You dream of running, your legs stay still. That is the system working perfectly. Sleep paralysis is that same off switch, caught half thrown. Your awareness comes back online. The lights of the mind flick on, but the brainstem is still holding your body down. You are awake inside a body that hasn't been released yet, and that lockdown has a precise address. The same review traces it to a cluster of neurons deep in your brainstem, in a region called the ventromedial medulla. They release a chemical called glycine, reach down your spinal cord, and clamp the motor neurons that move your limbs. One relay from the base of your brain down your spine. The cable your dreaming brain pulls to keep you still. When you're frozen, that is the hand on the switch. For decades, the textbooks said glycine did it alone. Then in 2012, a lab in Toronto, Patricia Brooks and John Peever, tested it directly. They went into the motor neurons themselves. Blocking glycine alone wasn't enough. The paralysis held. Blocking GABA alone, the brain's other main stop signal, still held. The lock only failed when both were blocked together. So it takes two chemicals, working in tandem, to pin you. That's why you cannot simply will yourself free. Your conscious mind is awake and screaming, "Move!" And it is shouting down a hallway that has been chemically sealed at both ends. Now the fear, because sleep paralysis is rarely just stillness. Something arrives. In 1999, a psychologist named Alan Cheney went through thousands of these accounts and found the terror isn't random. It sorts into three distinct kinds, each one a different glitch in your sleeping brain. The first he called the intruder, the sensed presence. You don't always see it, you know it. Footsteps, a weight at the foot of the bed. The absolute certainty that someone is in the room and that they mean you harm. Cheney traced this to a hypervigilant threat detection state. Your amygdala, the brain's alarm, firing in the dark. The second is the incubus, the crushing weight on the chest. You feel like you can't breathe, like something is sitting on top of you, pressing the air out. And here is the cruel mechanics of it. During REM, the muscles you breathe with have gone slack along with everything else. So every shallow breath genuinely feels obstructed, and your panicking, half-dreaming mind hands you a reason for it. Something heavy, something pressing down. This is why in account after account, the demon is sitting on the chest. The third has a completely different flavor, the vestibular motor kind. Floating, falling, flying. The sensation of leaving your body and watching yourself from above. Cheney tied that one to your inner ear balance centers, misfiring during REM. The same paralysis, a completely different nightmare. And here is where it gets genuinely strange. Because that figure on the chest is not a local story. It is everywhere, and it always has been. Japan has a word for it, kanashibari, literally bound in metal. A 1987 study found about 40% of Japanese students had felt it. Newfoundland calls it the Old Hag. In 1982, the folklorist David Hufford spent years documenting it there and showed something startling. The Old Hag wasn't a legend the culture dreamed up. It was clinical sleep paralysis, the same pressure, the same presence, and the folklore had been built on top of a real, recurring experience. Look at your own language. The mare in Nightmare was never a horse. It comes from an old word, the Mara, a demon that sat on the chests of sleepers in the dark. Your everyday word for a bad dream is literally the name of the creature people believed was crushing them awake. And we've been painting it for centuries. Fuseli's The Nightmare from 1781 shows a squat demon crouched on the chest of a sleeping woman, 200 years before the experience had a clinical name. Turkey calls it Karabasan, the dark presser. Brazil has the Pisadera. Different names, different masks, and underneath all of them, the identical thing. A weight on the chest, a body that won't move, a presence in the room. Strangers across every continent who never compared notes, all reporting the same monster. So either it's visiting all of us, or all of us are building the same thing. So why would the brain build the same intruder every time? Cheney's answer from 2001 is unsettling. You're awake, paralyzed, on your back in the dark, and your threat alarm is blaring with nothing to point at. There is no real danger to switch the alarm off. So the brain keeps searching, keeps elaborating, and finding no source, it invents one. A demon, an intruder, a hag. Your culture just hands it the final costume. There's a deeper version still. In 2017, neuroscientists Balan Jalal and V.S. Ramachandran proposed that the shadowy figure might be you. Their idea, during REM, the part of your brain that holds your body image, the internal map of your own shape, gets disturbed and thrown outward into the room, perceived as another person standing there. The intruder is your own body, projected onto the wall. It sounds far-fetched until you see this. In 2006, a team led by Olaf Blanca was electrically stimulating one spot in a patient's brain, the temporoparietal junction. They hit it, and she instantly felt a shadow person behind her, mimicking her posture. When she leaned forward, the shadow leaned with her. No one was there. They had switched the intruder on with an electrode, which brings us to the thing I promised. Because here is the part that changes all of it. During sleep paralysis, your brain is not in clean, ordinary wakefulness. In 2021, that Paris lab, Imanieri and colleagues in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine recorded people mid-episode, and the EEG sat in a borderland. Conscious awareness was there, yes, but the rhythm running the room was still the rhythm of REM. The theta waves of dreaming dominated the recording, over 3 times what you'd ever see in a fully waking brain. Their conclusion, in their own words, the brain during sleep paralysis is not in an awake, but in a dreaming state. Sit with what that means. You think you've surfaced into your room. Your eyes are open, but your brain is still half inside the dream, and it is painting that dream straight onto the real room in front of you. So the thing leaning over you was never in the room. It came through the door with you, its dream content, bleeding into open-eyed sight. The intruder, the weight on the chest, the shadow that moves when you move, every piece of it is generated by a brain that never fully left the dream. Nothing is there. Nothing was ever there. The monster is, provably, entirely inside your own skull. That's what this whole channel exists to show you, that the strangest things that happen to you happen while you sleep, and almost none of them are what they feel like. If that just reframes something you've carried for years, subscribe. I'll keep showing you what your brain is really doing in the dark. And let me be clear, because this matters. Sleep paralysis is harmless. The Cleveland Clinic puts it plainly. It's the overlap zone where REM sleep and waking briefly run at the same time, mind on, muscles still off, and it ends on its own, in seconds to a couple of minutes. It feels endless. The Sleep Foundation puts the average episode at about 6 minutes, but it always passes and you are never in danger. What it becomes, though, depends on where you're from. Researcher Balan Jalal found that in Egypt, 48% of people who'd had it blamed a jinn, a spirit, while in Denmark, almost no one reached for anything supernatural. And that belief isn't harmless. The people who were sure a malevolent being was attacking them stayed afraid longer, and the paralysis itself lasted longer. The story you tell yourself in that moment literally changes how long the monster sits on you. It's common, too. A 2011 review pulled 35 studies, over 36,000 people, and found about 7.6% of us have had it at least once. Roughly 1 in 13. Among students, it climbs past 28%, driven by what you might be doing right now. Too little sleep, irregular hours, a body clock shoved out of rhythm. And there's something you can do. A 2002 study by Cheney found you're 3 to 4 times more likely to be on your back when it strikes. So if this keeps finding you, stop sleeping on your back. One episode alone means nothing either. Yes, it's one of narcolepsy's 4 classic signs, but by itself, it's just your REM boundary briefly out of sync. A normal brain, a half second of bad timing. So that's the lock failing in one direction, your mind waking before your body is freed. But there is a mirror image of this glitch. In some people, the paralysis never switches on at all. Their body's never pinned. So when they dream of running or fighting or fleeing, they actually do it. They punch, they kick, they leap out of the bed, eyes closed, sound asleep. It's a real name condition. And according to the Cleveland Clinic, that same broken off switch, failing the other way, can be one of the earliest warning signs of a Parkinson's type disease, sometimes years before anything else appears. The same switch as yours, failing in the opposite direction, that's the next door we open. The people whose bodies never stop moving in the night. And why your brain decided that the safest thing it could do with you every single night was to hold you down. I'll see you there.